and welcome to World Insight with me, Tian Wei. The program is coming to you on CGTN. Today, we will bring you our special series of interviews with world leaders from developing and emerging economies. Actions in the right direction speak louder than words. That's what Ilham Aliyev, the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, told me. In our exclusive interview, he shared with me some key examples from his country. Take a listen. Oil and gas development in your country, that has really managed to take up the economy to a certain degree. That, of course, is with your vision. But the question is it going to be sustainable, sir?
You're right. Oil and gas is a driver of our economy, and we achieved a big progress mainly because of our successful policy of attracting major energy companies to invest in Azerbaijan. But now, of course, our main objective is to diversify the economy and reduce dependence on oil and gas. It will not be easy because we are now in an active phase of development of our oil and gas reserves, but at the same time we attracted a lot of investments, almost $250 billion in the last 15 years. And our doing business of World Bank's rating is number 25. Yeah. Therefore, I think it will be not difficult to attract investors to invest in sectors other than oil and gas.
Mr. President, I understand infrastructure is an important potential in your country. But the question is short-term, long-term. How to balance it?
You are absolutely right. We invested in Azerbaijan and beyond our borders. First, of course, the priority was to create the modern infrastructure. We increased the level of gasification inside the country up to 95%, which is, I think, the very good result. Railroads, 6 international airports, a new port of Alat, which is capable of transporting from 15 up to 25 million tons of cargo. New shipyard. Infrastructure allows us to attract a lot of cargoes and to create a new important link between many countries.
Well, Mr. President, as you said, your country is in a geographically very strategic place. How much should I look inward? How much should I open the door?
My concern is so that international situation around us is not getting worse. That's my concern. Because today's international environment for Azerbaijan, I think, is the most appropriate and the best. For me as a president, the most important is day-to-day life of the people, our economy, our industry, our social problems. Our foreign policy is a protector for that, is a guarantor for that. So far, it was successful. But what will happen in the future will show.
China-Azerbaijan ties have been strong and fruitful, especially since President Aliyev's state visit in 2015. During his visit, the two sides signed a memorandum of understanding on the Silk Road economic belt.
Mr. President, the Chinese President Xi Jinping, at the end of last year, wrote to you a letter of congratulations on your birthday.
Yes.
I'm sure you received it safe and sound.
Yes, of course.
So it certainly shows the time and also the efforts when both of you, together with other partners, are working together. For example, on different projects, such as Belt and Road Initiative. There are different interpretations and understandings of BRI. So how do you, as the President of Azerbaijan, see what this platform, as you are building it yourself as well, will be able to achieve for you?
You're right. President Xi Jinping was very kind to send me a birthday letter, and also I congratulate him always on his birthday. And I remember my very successful official visit to China a couple of years ago, and communications with President. We signed, by the way, many important documents which create a good framework for our cooperation. And of course, during my visit and during other meetings, we discussed One Belt, One Road initiative, and Azerbaijan fully supports it. And we want to do everything that Azerbaijan is a very active member of this initiative. From our point of view, we extended the transportation network towards Europe, building Baku-Tbilisi-Kars railroad. We connected the line, but there are a lot of directions of cargoes which go from China to European destinations. Therefore, of course, we want to be more involved in this process.
There are a lot of skepticism in the air. How do you see that, particularly as the president coming from a developing country?
We also had skepticism around us when we started to think about how to build a pipeline from Azerbaijan to Mediterranean. Biggest part of those skepticism and speculations was based on unfair competition attempts. I would put it in this diplomatic way. Therefore, we did not respond. We said we need to respond with what we will do. We need to respond with result. And when the pipeline from Baku to Ceyhan and Mediterranean was built, it's almost 2,000 kilometers. Everybody saw that. And now those who were skeptical about these projects, we don't hear their voices any longer.
Mr. President, how can we make this area more active? Make people-to-people exchanges really serve the better lives of the people?
Relatively recently, we eliminated the visa restrictions for Chinese citizens. So now everybody who wants to visit Azerbaijan can get an electronic visa sitting at his computer at home within maximum 3 days, and sometimes even within hours. So that was done as a sign of our partnership and in order to create better opportunities for Chinese citizens to visit us. In order to enhance our trade, we sent several expert missions to different regions of China. And already we have good results. We have opened already wine houses of Azerbaijan in China. We participate regularly at the main exhibitions which are taking place in China with our agricultural products.
The world is in big change, as we mentioned earlier. What do you consider as the most important quality of leadership?
First, what comes to my mind is to plan for a long-term development strategy. Second, most important is never to lie to the people, never to say something which is not true. If he or she wants the people to believe, to trust him, to support him, these two must always be on the agenda of the leaders.
Mr. President, what a pleasure seeing you. All the best.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Our special thanks to the President of Azerbaijan. Next, let's talk to the Prime Minister of Slovenia. Slovenia is a southern Central Europe state at the crossroads of important European cultural and trade routes. That's why relations between China and Slovenia are so important for both sides. Prime Minister of Slovenia shared with me his views about the global economy and the future of ties with China. We're seeing a very dramatic change going on, and that also addressed to China-Slovenia relations. I understand your country and China has been very instrumental in building the trade relations, and now trade is becoming a little bit unpredictable globally. So how do you see the bilateral trade relations vis-à-vis the very bigger picture as a backdrop?
Well, for us, these trade relations are very important. We seek always for the new markets, and China is a very interesting market for us and also our market for China. And we will try to do our best in the future to grow our trade relations. We have also some common projects to build and to manage. And we have also, I must admit, some problems with it. But our government will do our best to improve these relations.
What do you think are some of the most important challenges when you are talking about the problems?
I think that we must be very cooperative, Slovenia and China, and find new ways how to cooperate. We think that China is a very prosperous land. It's very fast developing, and of course we must not forget the tradition of China. China was is very traditional country. It's very spiritually rich country. We have a lot to learn from you, and so we are very glad if we make some progress.
One crucial issue for Slovenia, of course, is part of Europe. The European continent is changing a lot. Brexit, just to mention a few, you've got France also having its own issues. Germany, of course, earlier elections. So, Mr. Prime Minister, how do you see what you term as a geographically relatively smaller country inside Europe, with this very dramatic, apparently, changes going on the continent? How would you put this country in the best position among all of these uncertainties?
Well, our territory is not big, so we are a smaller country, and we can use this as an advantage. Because like a comparison between large ship and small boat is more flexible.
Okay,
and,
that's a good analogy.
Yes, it's one of the advantages, and our geostrategical position is very good. So we must use it. We are on the corridor of this cargo traffic, and for us it's crucial to maintain this role as a good geostrategic partner for other countries, for landlocked countries. Czech Republic, Slovakia, Hungary, they are all shipping their cargo from our port of Koper, and we must maintain this. And our main goal is digitalization. We don't have oil, we don't have natural resources, but we can be very good in digitalization, and we already are. So that are our advantages. And tourism.
And tourism, of course. But do you see European continent will be able to overcome? It's so hard to generalize like that because there are so many countries, Slovenia included, will be able to overcome the current hiccups in a way. What would they depend on? What kind of strength would they depend on to do so?
Well, the European Union is the best thing that happened to the Europe lately. So we must...
Well, it's for a geographically smaller country like Slovakia, yes, but for some big powers in Europe, they thought, well, they probably could have their own way.
Yes, it's the danger of it. But no, as Oscar Wilde said, no man is an island, so no country is an island. We must preserve these values of European Union, which are a little bit the same as the French Revolution said, égalité, fraternité, liberté.
Okay.
It's also European values, because our values are sharing, our values are solidarity, our values are good economy, and we must do everything to keep it that way. So every country has a big task to stay effective in their own borders, and then as a community.
That's well said. They have to be effective within their own borders, and then collectively there will be more strength.
As we say, think globally, act locally. That's the main issue.
My final question for you, Mr. Prime Minister. May I have the honor to say to our audience, 41 years old, the Prime Minister of Slovenia. Very impressive. How do you see the quality of leadership these days, sir, particularly your generation?
Well, that's one issue that we forgot to say when we talked about problems in Europe
I hope it's
and
a
the world.
solution. I hope it's a solution.
We need such leaders that they will not be materialistic, young leader, young by heart,
Yes.
I would say, not by age, young by heart, decisive, not, we have too many leaders that are afraid of acting. We need leaders who will act, and now with the
Act in the right way.
The right way, yes, and we will have now European elections, and my motto in our elections was, it's time for new generation. So that's a crucial thing, because if we will always be in old thinking, yes, we won't get progress.
Yes.
So we need progressive leaders. And the world is changing rapidly. So I'm now 41, but I'm not young anymore. My daughters are 12 and 9. They overcame me.
But I hope your heart will forever young.
Yes, we must be young by heart.
It's not measured by the age, but rather by the heart. Our special thanks to the Prime Minister of Slovenia. Now let's meet Carlos Alvarado Quesada, who is the President of Costa Rica. He shared with me during an exclusive interview what he coined as people-oriented policy. He advocates constant debate on the direction of the country is heading and which economic policies will carry them forward. In a transformative time, how are you, as the president of a developing country in Central America, seeing all these changes going on around you?
Well, it's quite an exciting time to be in government, in challenging as well. But I believe we have to, I frame it on three main characteristics. We have to have courage, hope, and empathy with reason. Because we need hope in today's world. And a country as Costa Rica, its mandate is to provide hope to the rest of the world as well.
Hope, they say, is not a strategy, but it's a very important quality of leadership, they say, sir. So how is hope likely to lead to actions? That's the real link, isn't it?
Indeed. Hope provides passion and purpose, and also positive purpose based on empathy. But you're right, you need also reason behind it and a plan. That's why we're using, for example, decarbonization of the economy as a plan to provide hope, but also purpose and economic growth. In the case of Costa Rica, our electric matrix is 99% renewable and clean. So by decarbonizing, for example, transportation, it's a way to reduce cost, reduce dependency on fossil fuels, and to improve our economy and at the same time improve our environment.
But you know, Mr. President, one of the things we're facing these days is a cycle of elections in many countries. So you have a beautiful goal and a wonderful blueprint already being primarily implemented. But what about the future stages of this blueprint? That requires long-term thinking. Earlier, I remember Professor Schwab at the opening ceremony was talking about people now being tied up so much by daily crisis management, not long-term thinking. But election cycle is a real thing. So how, in a way, can you guarantee what you are mapping out today is going to be a real goal for tomorrow?
Well, the period in Costa Rica is of 4 years. Actually, it's a short period. But what is the strategy? That's why I talk about hope as well, because it's passion, and it's embedded not in a political party, but on the whole population. And when it becomes something that's not of one political party, but of the whole population, It's not a government policy strategy, it's a state strategy. So that's what we are aiming for.
Yeah.
And Costa Rica has as a state strategy not only peace, but sustainability.
Yeah.
So this is within that, that main track that's not only of my government, it's of a whole country.
What is the trick of doing it? The secret to success of advocacy?
Well, I believe people, especially in today's world, we're looking for a purpose. We're looking for a direction. There's lots of uncertainty. That's why the power of hope provides that passion. But then you have to have the blueprint.
Right.
You have to provide the steps so people can. It's lots of advocacy, but also that means it's a lot of leading. Leading with example, leading with action, leading with data, and making things happen.
Right.
That's really
Talking
important.
about vision and blueprint. Belt and Road Initiative, that has already become such a catchphrase in a way, but it is mainly about infrastructure. It's about real connectivities. That's probably even more important than the name itself. So, Mr. President, how do you see your country making the choice, being the second Central American country to subscribe to BRI?
Indeed. Well, Costa Rica is in a strategic point in the Americas.
Yes.
It's in the middle of the Americas. It's in the same time zone that many relevant countries in the north and in the south. And also, we have connection with both the Caribbean, the Atlantic Ocean, and the Pacific.
Yes.
So it's really a strategic point. Infrastructure in this sense, we are working on building a cargo train to the Caribbean. We're also building a electric urban train, and we are increasing the size of our port in the Pacific. In March, a new port is going to operate in the Caribbean. Currently, with China, we're working on the highway route to the Caribbean. And actually, the last contract for the new equipment for the trains, has been won by a Chinese company. So there are lots of commonalities and lots of things we can do together, because it is a strategic point there. It's just above the Panama, and that means it's just above the Panama Canal, but also with all the benefits included that provides Costa Rica.
But you know, Mr. President, a lot of people have been saying, oh, China, the rising country, what is it having in mind? You know, with this gigantic infrastructure connectivity scheme and project going on, is it about having more geopolitical influence in wherever the project would reach? On the other hand, you could argue any infrastructure project connecting people together, of course, will have an impact on whether geopolitics or the way people live. So how do you see this debate, the nature of this debate, as a participant of this Belt and Road Initiative?
I think we're living in a world that's become more multipolar, and actually, yes, China is becoming is already one of the main players in this game. But for me, what I put the first, it's about the people and my people. Triggering politics in Costa Rica for infrastructure, for job creation, and to protect the environment that benefit the people in Costa Rica. And in that, I see that the alliance with China can help in that direction. With the relation between China and Costa Rica started in 2007.
Yes.
It was the first Central American country that started to have a bilateral relation with China. And I believe that the beacon that both countries should have is the benefit of our peoples, and that's what I'm aiming for.
So you think the shared vision is extremely important?
Yes, and a vision that's centered on the benefit of people. That's really important.
But Mr. President, you know, your country is in Central America. There's always an interesting balance that your country needs to take, regionally and beyond. So how do you see that issue in this overall backdrop of balance strategically you have to take? Whether it's about the geopolitics and economy, or it's about for the benefits of the people and also the region balance, how do you see this topic being played out in this bigger picture?
As a small country, we need to understand those win-win situations.
Yes.
And my leadership is aiming to find those in the relation with different countries. Example with China in relation with infrastructure.
Yes.
That's a win-win situation. With other partners, regionally, for example, the fight against narcotics.
Yes.
We have lots of commonalities, and that's a win-win situation
Right.
with cooperation. So looking for those angles is what I believe has helped us to move forward positively.
Trade wars, so-called. We're approaching 90 days of U.S.-China, their negotiation time. So, Mr. President, how do you see this unpredictability for you when you're making your decisions on a daily and a long-term basis, Mr. President?
Well, first of all, Costa Rica relies on multilateralism.
Yes.
We are a country with no army. We abolished the army 70 years ago. We rely on our diplomacy in multilateralism and also commercially. Costa Rica is a really open country. We have free trade agreements with most of all our commercial partners. So we also need to rely on the international framework to work if there are any differences.
Yes.
We believe in those schemes. And currently, I believe our take on it is we need to diversify our risks.
Yes.
We need to diversify our risk because something may happen in one corner of the world or another place.
What do you mean by diversify? Exactly how do you diversify?
Well, play with the polarity of current world. We need to be connected with the different parts of the world, with Asia, with Europe, with North America, with South America.
But that could be tricky, right? I mean, you have to do a balance act every day.
Well, but I believe balance is a good strategy as well.
Our special thanks to the President of Costa Rica. You're watching a special series of interviews with world leaders on World Insight with me, Tian Wei. Stay with us, and we'll be back after this. Welcome back. You're still watching World Insight with me, Tian Wei. It's our special program of interviews highlighting world leaders from emerging and developing economies. How to bring out the competitive edge of developing countries and emerging economies? I asked that question to Armenian Prime Minister during the World Economic Forum. He shared with me his country's development in the IT industry and its future cooperation possibilities with China. China-Armenia is having a dynamic year. That at least is a quote coming from our ambassador to your country. Help us to understand what is the nature of this dynamism.
For our countries, it's very important to have real relations in economy, but both of our nations are very old nations with old culture, with old civilization. And I think that is the mutual base for further development of our relations. And last year, yes, we opened a Chinese school in Yerevan, and it was very important event for Armenia, not only in terms of politics, in terms of bilateral relationship, but also in terms of culture and in terms of education.
Armenia is not necessarily well known for being the IT center of the world. So what potential can we exactly approach, Mr. Prime Minister? And as you may know, when it comes to technology development and also investment, it has a lot to do with the quality of education, has a lot to do with the interconnectivity of the country and the region. So, Mr. Prime Minister, shed some light for us about that.
Yes, you know, for our government, it's absolute priority to develop technological sector in Armenia, and we are intended to make Armenia like a technological country. In Soviet time, Armenia was a leader in Soviet IT sector. In that time, it was quite different thing, but we have tradition of being technological leader in our region. We are going to make our investment environment more friendly for foreign investors. We are going to have regulatory simplifications in our economy, and we are going to reform our tax code and make it more investment friendly.
Mr. Prime Minister, your plan sounds wonderful and very inspiring. But you know, to me, it's very interesting to see the divide we're seeing right now. Economies like Armenia is trying its best to be connected to everybody. But there are others who only, at this time, try to looking inward, talking about more divide, a disconnected world, rather than subscribe to a more connected world. To you, as a developing country leader, how do you see these very different ideas going on right now about what should be the reality of the world?
The connected world is very important for us. Our vision of the world is connected world. It's world with cooperation, with international cooperation, and that's our general idea. And we want to make Armenia as a very important and very active part of contemporary connected world, and we are trying to bring new investment, foreign investment to Armenia. It is a kind of tool to be connected with the world. It matches with our vision. Now we are in the process of implementing a very important project, North-South highway project, and it shows our intention to be connected, and we are intended to connect Black Sea with Persian Gulf, and we believe that cooperation and dialogue, it is only a reliable way to solve all crises. It's very important to have opportunity to share ideas, not only about about one country, because it isn't possible nowadays to live in world isolated. It isn't good way. We should know each other better. What we are doing in our country, it can have impact in other countries as well.
Right.